Welcome to AI News Digest 2026-06-17. Today's 9 stories. Story 1, AI updates today, latest AI model releases LLM stats. Story 2, beyond parallel sampling, diverse query initialization for agentic search. Story 3, quantifying consistency in LLM logical reasoning via structural uncertainty. Story 4, distributed general-purpose agent networks, architecture, key mechanisms, and prototypes. Story 5, MemTrace, probing what final accuracy misses in long-term memory. Story 6, Incumbent advantage, brand bias and cognitive manipulation dynamics in LLM recommendation systems. Story 7, nothing from something, can a language model discover zero? Story 8, SpeechDx, a multitask benchmark for clinical speech AI. Story 9, when rules learn, a self-evolving agent for legal case retrieval. Story 1, AI updates today, latest AI model releases LLM stats. Here's a story about a quiet but important problem in legal artificial intelligence, one that most people outside the field don't know exists. Despite years of progress in deep learning and dense retrieval models, an old-school keyword search algorithm called BM25 has stubbornly refused to be dethroned in legal case retrieval. Why? Because legal language is extraordinarily precise. The exact words in a statute or case ruling matter enormously, and dense models trained on general text often miss those subtle but critical lexical alignments. A team of 8 researchers from Chinese institutions, led by Mingsu Tao, has published a paper accepted at ACL 2026 that takes a creative approach to this problem. Instead of building a new retrieval model or fine-tuning an existing one, they built a self-evolving agent that teaches BM25 to work better through query rewriting. The agent uses a large language model to automatically generate rules for rewriting user queries, making them more precise and legally appropriate before they ever hit the search index. What makes this genuinely novel is the self-evolution loop. The agent doesn't just generate rules once. It proposes rules, runs experiments across different combinations of those rules, evaluates the results, and then prunes the ones that don't help all automatically, with no human intervention and no model retraining whatsoever. The system learned from its own experimental history, much like a human researcher would. Tested on Laka RDV2, a well-established Chinese legal case retrieval benchmark, the self-evolving framework beat every non-evolutionary baseline, including rules designed by human experts. The researchers also pinpointed 2 specific capabilities that make the self-evolution work: the model's ability to leverage what it learned from previous experiments, and its built-in knowledge about which kinds of rules tend to be effective or ineffective. The implications here go beyond legal search. This is a proof of concept that LLM agents can autonomously discover and validate domain-specific heuristics in specialized fields where expert knowledge is scarce and expensive. For legal technology companies and court systems looking to improve search without massive infrastructure investments, this training-free approach is practically very appealing. The main caveat is that the gains depend heavily on using a high-capacity language model at the core, which may put the best version of this system out of reach for smaller organizations. But as a research direction, it opens a compelling path forward. Story 2, beyond parallel sampling, diverse query initialization for agentic search. Can an artificial intelligence discover something that no human has taught it? That question sits at the heart of a fascinating new paper from researchers Phoebe Zhang, Thomas Griffiths, and Brendan Lake, submitted to arXiv in June 2026. Their study takes one of the most profound mathematical discoveries in human history, the concept of zero, and asks whether a language model could arrive at it independently. The motivation is serious. AI systems are increasingly being positioned as tools that could push the boundary of human mathematical knowledge, generating proofs and hypotheses beyond what humans have already discovered. But to do that, a model needs to generalize far outside its training data, to hypothesize genuinely new mathematical structures, not just recombine what it has already seen. The researchers call this strong out-of-distribution generalization, and it is exactly what mathematical discovery requires. Using simple arithmetic as a controlled test case, the team evaluated models at roughly GPT-2 scale, both with and without language per training, to see whether they could figure out the concept of zero on their own without being explicitly taught it. The answer, bluntly, was no. At test time, without any exposure to zero, the models failed completely. Language pre-training made no difference to that zero-shot result. But the story gets more interesting when the researchers introduced just a small number of examples. After seeing only tens or hundreds of examples involving zero, the models could learn the concept. That is a remarkably small amount of data for such a structurally novel idea. And here is where language pre-training showed its value. Models that had been pre-trained on language required roughly 50% fewer examples to successfully acquire the zero concept compared to models without that background. That 50% reduction is scientifically significant. It echoes decades of cognitive science research suggesting that language scaffolds mathematical thought in humans. This paper provides the first controlled evidence of a similar mechanism in neural models. Language experience genuinely accelerates mathematical concept acquisition, even for ideas the model has never encountered. The practical implications cut both ways. On one hand, language-rich pre-training is not just about text generation. It actively builds cognitive infrastructure that makes learning formal concepts more efficient. On the other hand, current AI systems still cannot genuinely discover new mathematics without being shown it first. The aspirational vision of AI as an autonomous mathematical explorer remains, for now, ahead of what today's models can deliver. Story 3. Quantifying consistency in LLM logical reasoning via structural uncertainty. Speech is one of the most information-rich signals the human body produces. The way we talk reflects the health of our nervous system, our muscles, our lungs, and our cognitive processes all at once. That makes speech analysis a potentially powerful tool for diagnosing and monitoring diseases ranging from Parkinson's and ALS to depression and dementia. But despite years of research, clinical speech AI has remained a fragmented field, with most studies focused narrowly on a single condition, making it nearly impossible to compare methods or assess how well they generalize. A new benchmark called SpeechDx, introduced by Sejal Bala and colleagues at the University of Toronto in June 2026, aims to change that. SpeechDx brings together 12 existing clinical speech datasets and organizes them into 27 tasks spanning a wide range of health conditions. It is designed to serve as a shared evaluation framework, a common measuring stick that the entire clinical speech AI community can use to track progress. What makes SpeechDx particularly thoughtful is how it structures those tasks. Rather than organizing them by diagnosis, the benchmark groups them by the stage of speech production they disrupt. Conceptualization, which involves thinking about what to say, formulation, which involves constructing the language, and articulation, which involves the physical act of speaking. This mechanistic framing lets researchers ask deeper questions, not just which diseases are hard to detect, but which underlying computational challenges are proving most difficult to solve. The team evaluated 12 state-of-the-art audio encoders across all tasks, including zero-shot cross-condition transfer, where a model trained on one condition is tested on another. The results were instructive. Large-scale general speech models performed best overall, while domain-specific models only excelled on tasks closely matching their training data. Most importantly, no model generalized reliably across the full clinical speech landscape. Not one. That finding is important because it sets a clear and honest baseline for the field. Clinical speech AI is not a solved problem. We do not yet have representations that can reliably extract clinically meaningful patterns across different diseases and datasets. SpeechDx gives the research community the tools to measure progress toward that goal. And in doing so, it may accelerate the development of speech-based diagnostics that could one day help detect neurological disease earlier, more affordably, and with less burden on patients. Story 5. Distributed General-Purpose Agent Networks. Architecture, Key Mechanisms, and Prototypes. This paper proposes open peer-to-peer networks of heterogeneous LLM agents that can collaborate across governance and data boundaries. It addresses fundamental limitations of single-agent architectures, including constrained tool access, local data, and runtime environments. Relevant to the growing multi-agent systems, trend, and enterprise AI deployment. Story 6, MemTrace, probing what final accuracy misses in long-term memory. MemTrace introduces a new benchmark for evaluating LLM agent long-term memory at the level of individual knowledge points rather than aggregate accuracy scores. Standard evaluation methods can mask how specific facts degrade or are overwritten across sessions. This is a valuable contribution for building reliable, persistent memory LLM agents. Story 7, Incumbent Advantage, Brand Bias and Cognitive Manipulation Dynamics in LLM Recommendation Systems. This study examines how established brands gain disproportionate advantage in LLM-powered product recommendations, using skincare as a test category across GPT-4o Mini, Claude Sonnet, and Gemini 3 Flash. It reveals potential for cognitive manipulation and incumbent bias in LLM commerce applications, important for AI fairness, safety, and commercial deployment considerations. Story 8, Nothing from Something. Can a language model discover zero? This paper probes whether LLMs can perform genuine mathematical discovery, specifically whether they can conceptualize zero as a novel mathematical structure beyond their training data. It tests out-of-distribution generalization in mathematical reasoning, a key frontier for AI systems targeting scientific discovery. Results have implications for understanding the true reasoning limits of current LLMs. Story 9, SpeechDx, a multitask benchmark for clinical speech AI. SpeechDx is a large-scale benchmark spanning 12 datasets and 27 clinical tasks, enabling standardized evaluation of AI systems that detect health conditions from speech. It addresses the fragmentation problem in clinical speech AI, where results from isolated studies cannot be compared. A significant practical contribution for AI in healthcare. Story 10, When Rules Learn, a self-evolving agent for legal case retrieval. This paper proposes a self-evolving, rule-driven query rewriting framework that enhances BM25 retrieval for legal case search without any parameter training. It addresses the challenge that dense retrieval models still underperform BM25 in legal domains due to complex terminology requirements. A practical, open-source friendly approach for legal AI applications.